Good afternoon, North Druid Hills neighbors. We are so excited that you have joined us tonight for this webinar. My name is Michelle Long Spears, and I am proud and honored to serve as your District 2 Commissioner. Also, thank you to the District 2 team, Caroline, Beth, and Sonia, and DeKalb Transportation, Patrice, and Dave, for coordinating this meeting to discuss North Druid Hills Corridor Scoping Study. GDOT and DeKalb Transportation have prepared a brilliant presentation for us about the study and to provide an update on the I-85 and North Druid Hills Road Interchange project. We also invited Path to join us tonight, but to my knowledge, Eric is not joined yet. And John, of course, if he does join, please elevate him to a panelist so he can participate. Earlier this year, Miss Martha Groves, and thank you, Martha, graciously invited both myself and former Commissioner Lorraine Cochran-Johnson to meet with the North Druid Hills neighbors to discuss the scoping study and the TAB. And we are truly blessed to have such an amazing, engaged, and savvy constituency in District 2. And you guys asked such great questions that really prompted me to pull together this meeting with DeKalb Transportation, GDOT, and PATH to discuss this issue further. Again, the questions we received with Lorraine and I, they were great, very technical questions, and bringing the experts to the table, I felt was the best way to make sure they were all on the same page. Now, quickly, John, if you wouldn't mind pulling up our agenda, and then we will go into brief introductions. So tonight, hopefully everybody can see the agenda on our screen. I, again, am doing the welcome. We'll do the introduction of our presenters. We have Mr. Butch Welch. Welcome, and thank you for being with us tonight. He is with GDOT. We also have Ms. Patrice Keeter with DeKalb Transportation, and we have Mr. David Pelton going to be talking to us about the future of transportation along the corridor. So let's go ahead and get started with our introduction. So Ms. Keeter, if you would like to kick us off.
Actually, I'm going to let Butch go first so that he can, just in the interest of time, we appreciate the GDOT partners being here. And I know they don't want to listen to the entire meeting, so I'd like for Butch to go first.
If we could just quickly do an introduction of your name, just because not everybody knows who you guys are, just your name and where you work and anything else you want to share with us.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No worries. It's okay.
I'm Patrice Keeter. I'm with DeKalb County Public Works Transportation. I'm the engineering manager and was the project manager for the North Druid Hills scoping study.
Dave?
I'm Dave Pelton, Deputy Public Works Director over Transportation.
Wonderful. Butch and Kyle? In that order, maybe?
I apologize, I could not find the mute button, but my name is Butch Welch. I'm the Georgia Department of Transportation P3 project manager over the I-85, SR 42 North Druid Hills reconstruction project.
And Butch, I apologize. I don't know if it's just me, but we're having difficulty hearing you.
Hey everybody, I'm Kyle Collins. I work with Georgia DOT Communications, and I'm focused on the design, build, and P3 division of GDOT, a lot of our major statewide projects. So definitely appreciate the opportunity to see everyone and speak on this project tonight.
And thank you both gentlemen for being with us tonight. I know that y'all are busy and we are very appreciative of your time. Caroline, Beth, and Mr. Metelsky, if you guys would please introduce yourselves really quickly.
I'm Caroline Enlow. I'm with the D2 office and support Commissioner Michelle Long Spears, and happy to be joining you all tonight. Thank you.
And I'm Beth Ganga. I'm the Policy and Planning Manager for D2. And thank you all for coming.
And indeed, thank you all for coming. My name is John Metelsky. I'm the CIO for DeKalb County, and I help run the IT department.
All righty. Introductions check. We have done that. And now we will throw it to Butch for his presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner Spears. Hopefully everyone can hear me fine now. But as we were saying, this is the 85 at North Druid Hills Road Interchange reconstruction project. You can go to the next slide. I'll just give you a quick project overview. The purpose of this project is really to reduce crashes and improve the traffic flow through the interchange specifically. A couple of items that are going to be added. We're adding a displaced left turn for westbound to southbound movement, westbound on North Druid Hills. You can see the new bridge that will be constructed is where you see the signal. In gold will be the new place left turn, which will take that traffic to the southbound on-ramp to 85. Also,
Excuse me, Mr. Welch. People are having a hard time hearing you, and I don't know if it might help if you turned your camera off, or if you can speak more directly into your mic, but it's difficult to understand what you're saying.
all right, how about now?
Better.
Yeah, I just turned my camera off. So I'll just go back to the purpose of the project is to reduce crashes and improve traffic flow at the interchange. Is my audio better now?
When you talk into your mic, it's better.
And the project scope will be to add a displaced left turn, as you can see in the gold area. We'll be also constructing a new bridge across 85. That traffic will be for the westbound North Druid Hills left turn to the southbound on-ramp to I-85. We'll also be constructing a graded ramp, as you'll see in green to the right, just above the signal there. What that will do is reduce that weave from the northbound traffic coming off of North Druid Hills, and also for the northbound frontage road. One of the items that I saved to last is the bridge replacement there at North Fork Peachtree Creek. I know that's really the purpose of our discussion here tonight. That will also be demolished and then reconstructed to widen the bridge, which was constructed in 1962. Other items of interest on this project is that the current Emory Children's Hospital intersection will be relocated to the new location there right across from the Bank of America building. Also, the Executive Park Drive will be relocated to form a new intersection there at the Children's Emory driveway. The existing Executive Park and Old Tully Road will be basically cut off and will be a driveway to the McDonald's. The existing Executive Park Drive will only be a right in, right out once we're finished with the project. There's no questions there. We'll move to the next slide.
Just to, you said that Executive Park Drive will be a right in, right out only?
Yes, the existing Executive Park, once the newly relocated Executive Park Drive is constructed, which will tie into the intersection of the new children's entrance.
Okay, thank you.
North Tarrant Infrastructure was awarded the project. They began work at what I'll refer to in this presentation as Bridge 1, which is the bridge over the North Fork Peachtree Creek. And from that construction, which began in February, late February, I should say, the department did a 30-day notification to the public concerning the detour, which would be pending the progress of work for this bridge. Our contractor decided to try to perform a lot of work, preliminary work without the detour, so as to limit the activities during the 90-day closure. Part of that was to do all substructure work as you can see in this picture. And we have been hampered currently by weather, rain delays, particularly which causes the North Fork Peachtree Creek to rise into those locations where the ongoing work is. We did and will continue to have nightly lane closures while the contractor is performing this preliminary work. As we monitor their schedule, we will be able to confirm the exact date. And right now we're looking at a mid to late April timeframe. And we would like to perform the actual detour implementation on a weekend, so as to prepare the public not to have any surprises during the work week when we have high traffic volume.
And but it's just a step in from a comm side. So that late January, early February timeframe, we did push out a press release with the goal of alerting the public and the stakeholders to that preliminary work to get to that 90-day period. And at that time, we did kind of put a placeholder in there of March. Obviously, things have shifted just a little bit a few weeks back to potentially mid-late April that Butch talked about, but we'll continue to send out weekly traffic interruption reports and releases for those nightly activities. And our goal is to narrow down that firm timeline in the coming weeks where we can give y'all a reliable date to share with your stakeholders and constituents. And obviously we'll continue our robust plan, which we'll talk about at the end of the presentation to make sure everybody knows what's coming and when.
I will say the contractor has been making very good progress with their preliminary work. Initially, they had scheduled 40 days for work underneath the bridge, and it seems that the current rate of production of putting in micropiles, they could be finished sooner than that. So as Kyle said, we'll keep you posted, and most definitely 14 days prior to that, there'll be a heavy public outreach, as Kyle stated. You can go to the next slide. Now this is the detour. The detour is approximately 5 miles long. One thing I would like to make clear is that on a state route, when GDOT does a detour, we go from state route to state route. So what you see here is the state route to state route detour from North Druid Hills. If you're going westbound, you would come off of North Druid Hills, go north along the frontage road to Claremont. Then you would go to Buford Highway, come southbound. Vice versa, if you were going eastbound on North Druid Hills on the west side of the bridge, then you would go north on Buford Highway, come to Claremont, and then go southbound on the southbound frontage road, come up to the exit ramp, proceed eastward on North Druid Hills. I know a question that we get quite frequently is, what about side streets or other shortcuts for that nature? I just want to let everybody know that West Druid Hills is a private roadway. Corporate Drive is also a local roadway. We strongly encourage folks to stay off of those roadways, as they're not designed for the traffic volumes that would be using the detour. The reason we go state route to state route is because our state route system is designed to handle those volumes, along with having signalized intersections, which provide the motorist a much safer drive. I know it may be slightly longer than the just going westbound or eastbound across North Fork Peachtree Creek, but those are the reasons that we provide the state route to state route connection. And next slide, please. Also, a point of consideration is the pedestrian detours. There are a lot of pedestrian traffic that go across the North Fork Peachtree Creek bridge. We had this detour route here that shows coming off of the sidewalk there where the Salvation Army driveway is, up to the driveway to the parking area for the trailhead. Then you get on the Peachtree Creek Greenway path, go up to Corporate Boulevard, take the sidewalk network to Beaufort Highway, and then vice versa if you're coming from the Beaufort Highway side of the west side of the bridge, take the sidewalk network up to Corporate Boulevard, then the Greenway Trail back to North Druid Hills on the east side. It's approximately 7/10 of a mile. I walked it a few weeks ago, measured it out about 15 minutes. Your standard pedestrian, but it is a nice walk. But I do know and I understand that it is a little different, than the short path that's currently there. Reason that we're not showing going along West Druid Hills, once again, that is a private roadway and there are no sidewalk facilities on that route. You can go to the next slide. I know, and it came to our attention early on in the project that there were multiple detours going through the project site. So we've instructed our signage to show State Route 42 symbol along with the direction of travel, along with the detour sign. Your typical detour sign just comes with an orange background, black lettering, and the arrow as well. So we wanted to help the public make sure that they get a clear sign of detour route. We'll be maintaining those signs throughout the 90-day detour. Also on that slide was the pedestrian detour signs. Those are typical sidewalk closed signs that we use, but along the detour route that we showed in the previous slide, there'll be the detour signs for pedestrians, as you see here.
And but just to go through some of the questions that came in the chat and question and answer, looks like Mr. Sharp had a few for us. Could you just kind of reiterate some of the traffic analysis that went into, I know you mentioned it briefly, but went into selection of that detour, mostly following the state routes. Like you said, Mr. Sharp, we're just concerned about, traffic going on the side streets is understandable.
I understand that. And Mr. Sharp, before I jump right into that, one of the parts of the roadway detour is that the signal currently at West Druid Hills, the Salvation Army, will be taken down. There will be a freeway stop that will be put in that location. Also, when you're coming southbound on the off ramp from 85, the furthest right lane will be closed. That is because the roadway network from the bridge to the interstate will be closed to local traffic only, and it will be one lane in each direction so as to service the local businesses there. I know there's an executive park just down West Druid Hills. You have the McDonald's along with Salvation Army and the Exxon shopping center there. Typically, when it comes to the traffic analysis, we use the standard average daily traffic numbers generated for the project. We look at those numbers. When you look at side streets or local roadway networks, those roads are not designed to handle type of traffic. And that's why we look at the state route to state route system. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but hopefully
thanks.
that's close to it.
Thanks, Bush. And Johnny Wood also just had a comment generally about Buford Highway, obviously with the work going on just I think just north of this project, and there being some lane shrinkage. I think that just speaks to the collaboration we're trying to do, with any work the district has going on in the area. And obviously we understand the impact and the headaches of the current bridge being out, and I believe the La Vista detour, which folks called out. We had Councilman Funny had a kind of a question in here too, Butch, about that signage with it saying SR 42 that some residents may not know. SR 42, and he just asked if there's potential chance to include Claremont Road in that signage, just because folks know the local name better.
Right, and understand that concern, and we'll look at it. I know that originally that was requested for at least to say North Druid Hill above the detour sign. But we will definitely take that into account, and that is most understandable.
Butch, this is Michelle Spears, and I have a quick question as well. So the pedestrian route you stated is the detours along the Peachtree Creek Greenway. So two issues with that. One is that the Peachtree Creek Greenway floods, and then they actually have to shut the path down. And two, it's technically not open at nighttime. And so is there an alternate route, or people are just supposed to figure it out? Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, that's a very good point. I appreciate you bringing that up. As we learn every day, new conditions. But yeah, there are also sidewalks along the southbound off ramp from 85. What I'll do, and based on this comment, is I'll instruct our team to have an alternate pedestrian route along the southbound frontage road, which will take you up to Corporate Boulevard and then back up to Buford Highway. And thank you for that piece of information. I did not realize being on the Greenway at night was illegal. So we'll take that into account.
And it really does flood there. It's a beautiful walk. I would encourage anyone and everyone to do it. But when we get heavy rains, it's shocking how high the water gets there. But thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
And thank you for that. Well, one thing I would like to add before Kyle goes into communications piece, we are in conversation with MARTA for their bus route 8 that runs through that area. That will be part of the package as well. When we communicate with folks not only about the vehicular detour, pedestrian detour, but also the changes to the MARTA bus route.
Yeah, thanks, Butch and John. This kind of going into the PR side of things. We talked about that initial rollout as well as our stakeholder involvement, which tonight is a good feature of that we want to make sure everybody has the latest and greatest information, is able to explain some of the issues that you've seen, the Greenway being a perfect example that Commissioner Spears just mentioned. So weekly press alerts is part of our communications toolkit, along with those regular meetings that we have with the developer, with City of Brookhaven, with Showa, and also Emory. Other communications tactics you can see there is that collateral and resources that we have on the website, which I tried to share with a few folks there in the chat on the Q&A. You also have a QR code at the end of this presentation that'll take you directly to that website. So that's a very good resource to sign up for the most up-to-date information. And once we do have that firm date that we're confident in, we'll roll out some targeted ads. We're going to have Google ads and also ads targeted on various social media platforms to really get that message out. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. As well as postcards that are just going to go out pretty much within a mile radius of the project impact area. Those are going to have the detours that Butch talked about for vehicles and also for pedestrians. There's going to be a helpful QR code for our Spanish speaking audience to ensure that they're covered and they understand what's going on so they can utilize their phones to access the Spanish version of our website and our materials. We're also going to make sure that all of you have our toolkit as well with suggested social media posts, all the detour information, the MARTA map that Butch just referenced. That'll be something that we can continually update to make sure you include that in your emails you may be sending out, newsletters that you may push out to constituents. Because again, we want to be good, transparent communication partners because we know it's going to be a headache once this goes in the coming weeks. So that's that website there. Again, drop that in the chat. You can reach us anytime via that official project email as well.
And Kyle, one thing I would like to mention as well, the media blast, is there will be variable message board signs located along the project corridor, specifically on Beaufort Highway, the 85 interchange, east and north and southbound of the pending closure date.
Great. Thank you guys so much for your presentation. Before I turn it over to Caroline for any questions and answers, and then we'll toss the ball to Patrice, I did want to recognize that we have Paul Denard from GDOT. Thank you for joining us, sir. Eric Ganther with PATH was also able to join us, so thank you very much, Eric. I was calling you Anther. We also have Councilman John Funny from Brookhaven, so thank you, sir, for joining us tonight. And over to you, Caroline.
Okay, great. Kyle, I know you can see the questions if you want to help out, but one of the last ones was, will this session be available later? And yes, we are recording it and we will be posting it through Commissioner Spears' weekly e-blast. So if you have not signed up for her e-blast, please visit MichelleLongspears.com and you can sign up. Let's see. Traffic taking alternate routes other than the official detour is inevitable. Has there been assessment of light timing at Claremont and Briarcliff Light?
Yes, and I'm glad that Paul Denard, our District 7 engineer, is on the call as well. We are working with District 7 and their traffic operations folks to ensure that we have the most efficient signalization going through the corridor, not only for the detour, but throughout the construction of this project. As I said earlier, with the new children's driveway and the relocated executive park connection, there will be a temporary signal in place for a period of time. We will do everything in our power to optimize those signal timings to get as much traffic safely through the project corridor as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Caroline, if I could just add that the GDOT SIGOPS program, the Signal Operations Program, it has already reached out to us. And the great thing about the SIGOPS program, it goes across jurisdictions. So, you know, we work with Brookhaven and DeKalb County and Shamley and everyone. So we're already working on that. So I just want to put people's minds at ease that there is an opportunity for very talented traffic signal engineers to be working on these corridors.
Thank you, Patrice. How does the new bridge design take into consideration bicycles, or does it?
We are introducing wider lanes through that corridor, but no, there are no dedicated bike lanes.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
There are no dedicated bike lanes through this for this project through the corridor.
Okay.
But one thing we could probably mention too is just with that wider, more modern design to the bridge, it's going to be much safer and more accommodating to pedestrians. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely.
All right, next question. For the detour, is the merging and crossing being addressed? Sometimes it takes a long time just to turn right coming off the interstate.
Not exactly sure if I understand that correctly, but
I'm sorry, I can't see the question anymore. It went away. Sorry.
I'm sorry, that was my fault. For the detour, is the merging crossing being addressed? I've waited, is that the one I waited 45 minutes just to turn right coming from
Yes.
the interstate?
now
Yeah.
as for the project, yes, all of those turning movements and weaving friction points will be greatly reduced, if not eliminated. As far as the detour route, I just have to go back to the signalization, as there will no longer be a movement to go westbound on North Druid Hills across the bridge, as the detour will be in play. As we said earlier, the signalization will be optimized to get be as efficient as possible. I'm not sure if that answered the question.
I think, right, coordination with this signal timing, et cetera, will make it as efficient as possible.
Right.
Are there any plans for improving the Claremont exit in the future because of the increased future traffic from Choa, Emory, and the new developments at Briarcliff and La Vista? Traffic has been backing up on the northbound I-85 exit for some years, and it's only going to get worse through this detour and after.
Thanks, Paul.
Sorry, having trouble with my phone. Hey, good evening, everybody. So we actually do have several projects in store for the Claremont corridor. We have an interstate project that's actually under engineering design to improve Claremont from the I-85 off-ramp to Briarcliff Road. And there's also involved in those improvements a project where we're actually going to lengthen and move back the exit ramp to give more weaving section or weaving distance from where you actually exit I-85 to where and it merges into the access road. And then when you get down to Claremont, we all know that that's probably the root cause of the problem. Of trying to weave all the traffic from the access road is merging in with the traffic from 85 and so forth. So we have a project that's going to lengthen that weaving section that's currently under design. We also have a project that's going to add some additional capacity on Claremont Road by way of a third through lane on Claremont Road southbound that goes through the Briarcliff Road intersection. And so there'll be some safety improvements along Claremont that extends south kind of towards the Audubon Road area. And that project is under design as well. We've had a few public meetings with the neighborhood community groups in that area. And so this project is scheduled to begin a little bit later. So you're going to have this project going on, but we have improvements that are coming. And I'm actually kind of glad that they're coming and still under design, so that we don't have traffic in both locations. But improvements are coming to Claremont Road. They're just in the engineering phase while this project is under construction.
Thank you, Paul. The next question is, will there be a separate closing for the intersection improvements, the braided ramp and displaced left turn?
We'll have, standard nighttime lane closures. There may be from time to time road closures for construction activities such as beam settings, things of that nature. Those will also be communicated early on so as to minimize impact to any of the driving public.
Okay, this one was back from your first couple of slides. Will the Choa intersection address the merging issues at Claremont? Or is this intersection only near Druid Hills? I'm not exactly sure I understand that question because Claremont is not at North Druid Hills, but anybody?
I think that's a completely separate issue, the Claremont.
From the Choa intersection.
Right.
Okay. Has anyone considered the use of the underpass for traffic going west or northwest? I think we answered that. Beth?
Yeah, I think the next question that we haven't answered is, somebody wants clarification. So there will no longer be people from the access road turning left with interstate people turning right?
Are we talking about the northbound movement on the French Road and then the on-ramp to northbound 85?
They didn't specify.
I will say that weave will be eliminated by virtue of this project for the flyover bridge that will be constructed just north of the interchange on the east side. It'll be, so that will be eliminated. That will be towards the end of the project when that will be constructed.
Okay, I think that was all the questions that were pertaining to your talk, Caroline.
Yeah, and we've got about 20 minutes left, so I think we could move on to our second half of our agenda. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us this evening, and we appreciate you staying to answer questions.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us tonight. We appreciate it. If
See
we
y'all
have
soon.
more questions, we know who to go to.
Oh, yeah. See
Thank
y'all.
you, Commissioner Spears. Always
Thank
available
you all.
for any conversation.
Thank you so much. All right, Patrice, Dave, you guys are up.
All right, so I'm Patrice Keeter with DeKalb Transportation. I was the project manager on the North Druid Hills scoping study. And I just want to do a little recap on the scoping study about the purpose of a scoping study and next steps, so to speak. So when you're doing a scoping study, it's really to get the vision of the community, you know, of the corridor, to get all that information, to get to define the project. So you're doing analysis of existing conditions for all modes of traffic, pedestrians, cars, bikes. You're doing, you know, you're looking for intersection improvements or for safety improvements, for operations improvements, for capacity if you need it. And then you're also, a big part of a scoping study is identifying risk. You know, do you have cemeteries on it? Do you have cross-country electrical transmission lines? Do you have, you know, what kind of right-of-way? Do you have railroads? Just things that can kind of throw a kink into the project, so to speak. The biggest thing is cost. And so by doing a scoping study, you set the vision and you set a preliminary cost to get an idea of what's needed to actually deliver this project. And so that's what we did with North Druid Hills. And I already see a question in the chat about Azalea. So most of the comments we've gotten have been about Azalea Road. I'm going to call it Azalea Road East. Across, whoops, sorry, my lights went out on me. I didn't move enough, but for the intersection of Azalea Road East across from Blackshear. And that I want to put your mind at ease. We don't actually have any projects right now. This scoping study is to get the information to fill out the application for a project. So when we do that, those applications, last time there was a project call, I think they were 26 pages long. You had to identify environmental risk and railroads and all this stuff and cost estimates, and kind of had to show that you had done some pre-engineering work so that we could right size the project and make better decisions. And so I just want to say that we've documented in our project that that Azalea Road, there's an or, so it's definitely still up for discussion. I want to, if you don't hear anything else, that nothing's set in stone yet. And so even in our documentation, we had an option 1 and option 2. They are going to have to, it forces the future discussion. So when that goes through, the stakeholders may want a signal or they may not. We've heard loud and clear that right now you do not, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So what we've done, I want you to know that we've added an folder to our electronic files that says comments submitted after the study, and all these Azalea Roads and Berkeley Road comments, we're adding those to our file so that whoever the project manager is in the future will have that documentation, and it will trigger those discussions that still need to be had. But I do want you to know it's going to change, because say this project starts in 5 years or 10 years. And when I say starts, I mean starts design. Then we're going to have to redo the traffic and the analysis at that time again. And there will be a whole nother round of public comments. There will be a whole nother round of stakeholder engagement. So I just want to put your minds at ease that this is still totally up for discussion, that we haven't made any definitive plans. We just need enough information to fill out the application for federal funding. Because these projects, we divided the corridor into multiple segments. Segment 1, we divided into 1A, 1B, and 1C, and I actually wrote down the numbers. The costs were, for 1A was it's almost $46 million. For 1B was like $22 million. 1C is $14 million. And then segment 2, which is over next to DeKalb, Lula Hills, is $27 million. So if nothing else, the scoping study gives us the right magnitude of costs. I would have never guessed it costs that much. So that way, when we do program a project, we won't have a shortfall in budget. And in addition to that, I mean, that's what, like $108 million that we have. The bridge project from Spring Creek to Willoughby over the railroad tracks. That's currently, we're doing consultant work to select a consultant to redo that bridge. That's another $14 million. And that one actually has federal funds programmed. So that project will be starting up. And then if you take on the rest of the corridor going towards Valley Brook, going towards East Ponce, that's another $5 million. So what this does, it tells us how to right size the project budgets so that we can go after and get the federal funding that we need to do these big, massive projects, because our SPLOST dollars is not enough to fund these projects. But I just want to let you know, the Azalea Circle, we in no way modeled either Azalea Circle to be a loop road for North Druid Hills at Claremont. So that is not That was not our intention. It was to give access and to provide U-turns. So I just want to put your minds at rest on that. And I also wanted you to know that we heard what you said and we've documented that and put it in our report, not only in the written reports that were in the final reports for the implementation plan and the alternatives analysis, but also in the project file where we have documented these emails and so that future staff, whoever leads the project, will have the information that there is a concern at these locations. So that's kind of the scoping study in a nutshell. I was going to turn it over to David Pelton. He's going to go over some of the bigger aspects of the big intersection projects.
Yes, thanks, Patrice. I'm going to go over a few potential or projects that are actually currently under design in the area. So as part of the scoping study, where we tried to kind of break out some of the major intersections, and we want to try to maybe initially focus on improvements at those intersections. The first one that was looked at here was Briarcliff Road. Now, this one is actually in the city of Brookhaven. So if there was a project that was going to happen here, that would be a city initiative. But the study recommended adding dual left turn lanes for both directions of North Druid Hills, as opposed to the single lanes that are there right now. The next slide will be North Druid Hills at La Vista. At this location, the study recommended dual left turns both directions on North Druid Hills, and as well as eastbound on La Vista Road. And this is all in unincorporated DeKalb County. And what we're planning to do here is apply for some Atlanta Regional Commission funding in the current 2024 project solicitation. And so that is an application that would go in, I think it's in May for that funding. So that's an improvement that we want to try to move forward with. And then the next one is another project we also want to move forward with. The scoping study recommended dual left turn lanes from westbound North Druid Hills and a northbound right turn lane from northbound Claremont Road. So we will also apply for funds for this in the May ARC project solicitation. Next is a project that actually GDOT's working on at Claremont at La Vista. They're proposing to extend the eastbound left turn lane from La Vista to northbound Claremont Road. And then the last project I'll mention is it was actually mentioned by Paul Denard earlier. They're proposing to widen Claremont Road to 3 lanes in each direction through the Briarcliff Road intersection. They are planning to have another public meeting on that project sometime in April. And so at that point, there are going to be updated, detailed concepts presented for the project. And right now it's currently scheduled for fourth quarter 2025 for construction. And one thing I saw in the chat, I think there was a question about what the county is going to do related to the detour and help out with the detour traffic. I think one thing we're going to do once we get GDOT's signage, exactly how they plan to sign the detour, we're going to look at where we may need to provide additional signage. There are certainly locations away from the actual detour that people are probably going to be detouring on. And so the public probably needs to be made aware of the detour, well in advance of where it's actually going to start.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Pelton and Ms. Keeter. I'll turn it over to Caroline and Beth to navigate the questions that we've received so far.
All right, we have a question. How was this project communicated? Most people living along Northwood Hills didn't know about it until after the study was over.
Okay, well, we had a website, and we had, over 23, it was like 2,351 unique email addresses that we reached out to, and provided, information to. We also reached out to the neighborhood groups. So a lot of the email addresses that we had actually were representatives that represented a larger population, and they advertised it. We on our website, we had over 11,000 website hits. So we had a good bit of representation. With a study, it's always, especially as broad as this one is, from Briarcliff all the way to Valley Brook and East Ponce, getting that message out is always a challenge. So we're always looking to improve that. But we did have a pretty significant public participation. We put signs up on the corridor. We, we had pop-up events where we went to Toco Hills and passed out flyers. I'm trying to think of what else we did. I don't have it right in front of me, but we had so we tried to reach out. And I certainly apologize if you didn't know about it. But again, with the scoping study, the study just sets a footprint. You have full opportunity when the project is programmed to fully participate. It starts all over. So they'll be able to really focus in on the projects as they go through. So, and I would encourage you to do so.
Thank you. What is the timeline for the Claremont and North Druid Hills intersection improvements? Was that one that you mentioned, Dave?
Well, at Claremont and North Druid Hills, what we would want is that's an $8 million job. I mean, it's a big, that intersection improvement is a big ticket job. So we're going to have to get federal aid for it. So the applications go in, they're due in May. So then there has to be a selection process. And
so we're talking years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Multiple years.
Multiple years, because there'll be a right-of-way phase, an engineering phase, and then construction. So unfortunately, how the federal aid program is in Georgia, it's very linear. And that's because a lot of these projects are such big projects that they eliminate risk. So they don't want to advance it if they want to eliminate any risk so that you don't waste any money on it. So it's very linear. So it just takes a long time to get through them. I mean, if it's a project under 5 million, we're probably not even looking at federal aid because it's just not in our best interests.
All right, thank you. Next question is, why wasn't widening of the roads put into this study for cost? Currently, most options appear to be removing lane space to add medians amongst other obstacles.
I didn't want North Druid Hills to become Buford Highway. I wanted to take the analysis to show that if we can make what we have more efficient by organizing the traffic, eliminating conflict points, and making it more efficient using the lanes we have, when you start adding, I mean, even adding a 6-foot buffer and a 5-foot or a 5-foot buffer and a 6-foot sidewalk and a buffer and a 10-foot multi-use path, you're already, the footprint of the road's getting so big that when we start widening this road, if we want to be pedestrian friendly, we got to find a balance. We got to find a balance. So it just, we wanted to make it the best road we could without making it a big, huge, wide sea of asphalt that you can't cross. So that was our goal.
Is it possible for us to see the federal application for the Claremont North Druid Hills project after it's submitted, as our property, Claremont Presbyterian Church, is likely to be directly affected?
Well, we haven't started it yet, but I don't have an issue with that at all. I'd be glad to share that.
Great.
All right, what does the corridor study propose at North Druid Hills and Spring Creek? A narrow sidewalk was just installed, which is an improvement, but a bigger improvement should be done.
Well, Spring Creek is the point between the Druid Hills scoping study and the bridge project. So the bridge project is we're doing design consultants we're selecting design consultants to start the design on. It hasn't started yet. The Spring Creek with the path plans that have been adopted, those were on-street bicycle facilities. So we just focused on, there was a safety issue around that curve. So we're just focusing on pedestrians getting from the path connection at Spring Creek to around the curve. So the sidewalk is only going to basically the first driveway around the curve. So it was never meant to be a multi-use path in that area.
Primarily for pedestrian safety, just at the curve.
Yes.
Did the study include any transit MARTA improvements like bus rapid transit, light rail, etc.?
Well, it certainly didn't include any light rail. That would be well outside, excuse me, well outside the scope of what we would be able to deliver in a roadway project. We did look at, and we will be coordinating bus stop locations. I think they've already done some preliminary coordination, but that's kind of in the details. We kind of need to know where the signals are going to be and where the pedestrian crossings are going to be so we can coordinate those locations. MARTA was a stakeholder on our committee, so I don't remember any like really specific things that came up out of that, but they were a stakeholder.
Thank you. Okay, next question is, have pedestrian bridges been considered within the ERUV? And please forgive me if I pronounced that incorrectly.
What is ERUV?
Okay, so that is the simplistic viewpoint from the outsider is the wire that surrounds the Jewish community that protects them and makes them in the community. So there's certain things you can do inside the general property, and there's certain things you do outside. The rules are different on Sabbath and holy days. Forgive me if that's not the best example but that's my understanding.
Thank you.
We've done a lot of work with our Jewish community partners. One of the things is that on holy days and the Sabbath, they're unable to work, and pushing the pedestrian buttons is considered work. And so on multiple traffic signals, we've set up and programmed them to be automatic on certain days, holidays, and the Sabbath. And we just expanded that for some signals on North Druid Hills because the walking community is expanding. So it used to be more around La Vista. Now there's some additional needs on North Druid Hills. About pedestrian bridges are difficult in today's climate because you have to meet the Americans with Disabilities Act. So you would have to ramp up. I mean, it would be a huge structure to ramp up to get clearance over the road to ramp back down on the other side. Most areas that have a pedestrian bridge are crossing, I'm thinking like Peachtree Corners up there where they're crossing like a 8-lane road. In smaller areas, you'll find that people aren't going to do that. They're just going to cross the road at the base of the bridge. So we really have not considered pedestrian bridges because of the amount, the cost, the right of way, and the eyesore that it becomes, as well as the expectation it won't be used as often as you would think.
Was the intersection at the La Vista and Claremont ever part of SPLOST before? There's been some poor right turn lane from Claremont southbound to La Vista improvements, and lanes are very narrow. We wouldn't have done SPLOST there, would we?
No, it hasn't been a SPLOST. It's that whole intersection. I agree that lanes are narrow. That's one of the reasons they looked at extending that lane and on the GDOT project and widening a little. I mean, it's just a little bit to get it a little wider. Everything that's been produced has been through a GDOT program, so we haven't proposed any SPLOST funding there. 2 state routes, kind of hard sell to get our commissioners to spend their money there.
All right, I believe we've answered almost all of the questions. Commissioner Spears, do you want to take it from here?
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, I really would like to give Mr. Ganther a moment to say hello. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. You're on mute. There we go. All righty.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate on the panel. I didn't get too many questions directed our way, but I have to say both of these projects touch on important greenway connections in the county. And also, I just want to take a moment to praise the work that DeKalb County Transportation Division has done on North Druid Hills with this study. I think this is a really valuable asset for the community there, with a nice multi-use trail along one side of the street and a nice landscape buffer. And Patrice is right. These are difficult decisions to make in a community. And, you know, I certainly understand the kind of horse trading that happens in these circumstances, but I honestly think that years from now that we will be very appreciative of the work that the Transportation Division is doing today to both come up with an initial design and then to pursue federal funding on this. I think it's going to be a big win for unincorporated DeKalb. So thank you. Peachtree Creek Greenways is an opportunity there. We could see how that massive automobile infrastructure with the interstate and the street crossing, and then you've got the Peachtree Creek Greenway underneath there. And the city of Brookhaven is pursuing extending that underneath where that bridge will be replaced. And that will be a fantastic addition for residents of DeKalb County, whether or not unincorporated, and that will connect into the city of Atlanta's project. So we're about to come together like Provo, Utah, with the Transcontinental Railroad. We're going to connect DeKalb into the Beltline. So that is an exciting and upcoming project over the next couple of years. But yeah, no, this is great. Great work is being done in this part of the county. So congratulations, y'all.
Thank you so much, Eric. I also want to express my appreciation to all of our presenters tonight, the D2 team, GDOT, DeKalb Transportation, our friend from PATH, and of course, Director Metelsky for helping us with the tech setup and facilitating this webinar for us. For our audience, thank you all so much for being here. We have fielded dozens and dozens of emails. I hope that this was informative to you. I hope it helped quell some of your concerns. And certainly, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to email Ms. Enlow at clenlow@DeKalbCountyGA.gov. You're certainly more than welcome to call our office. Please sign up for my newsletter. You can go to my website, michellelongspears.com, and sign up, and we will continually update you as these projects progress. And folks, we did a great job on time. It's 7:06, so we almost made it in the 1 hour time frame, but we had a whole lot of questions, and I feel really good tonight about the quality of the information and our ability to respond to questions during this webinar. So thank you all so much. Have a lovely evening and enjoy this spring weather we're having.